Hey guys, tonight I wanted to show you a change that we had to do because of an issue. This was on Lipscrew's bike, and he's got a 74 H2, and I had made him one of the moose plates, okay, which is, get it off here. This is off mine, because I'm going to switch mine. Anyway, that's a moose plate, okay, and you can get a drawing for it off of maybe Dale's site, I think. It's real simple to make. Socket head cap screw, and I think that's a half 20, and you just do a little drill and tapping, and no, that's a 10 by 1.25, excuse me. Anyway, so this is what I had on mine, and so I made him a plate, and when he put it together on the bike, these clips rubbed his rotor, and these clips go right here on these bosses. Okay. So anyway, so we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we don't know why he rubs. Okay, but he does. So what he kind of came up with this idea, and the idea was, why don't we, because he just needed a little more clearance to move this over a bit. So he said, why don't we get some steel and we'll weld this on here as such, and then drill a hole and just bolt it on like it would normally go on the fork. So I said, hey, sounds like a wonderful idea. So he had a buddy of his. I got some steel, and I kind of roughed it out into shape, gave it to him, and he had a buddy of his weld this on, okay? Just a little extension, and it's long enough to get to the other bolt. So I'm going to take this one, and I did this on his too. He made two of them, okay? I'm going to fill weld this up just to make it look nice, and this area back here, refile it and grind it, so so it looks nicer, and I fill welded his too, and we filed it, and he painted it, and it works. So I just want to kind of walk you through how I'm going to do that. So my first step is I'm going to weld some of this up, especially this area here and this area, and then I'll file it back off and square it so it looks nice, and then I'll go from there, and I'll show you how I mark it, and then we'll paint it and put it on. So, okay. The issue we had with Bill's bike was there's two little clips. There's one clip here, and they were rubbing his rotor. Okay, now this setup you're seeing here, this is an H1 rotor or an H2 rotor, same thing. My outboard pad and my bracket off my bike. Okay, the old one, or the original one, EX500. The fork in this case would be over here, okay, on this side, and and as we all know, this bracket is firmly mounted to the fork. Okay, it's bolted right to it. So as an end result, this doesn't move and this doesn't move. They're both locked into a given relationship. Now, the problem Bill had, I'm going to zoom in here and try and really mess things up, was the fact that clip, both of them, were rubbing the rotor. And we were using just a straight up moose bracket. It's identical to the one I had on mine, which worked fine on mine. So the point I want to make is, when no matter what mounting you might use, okay, you need to establish this clearance in between this clip and the rotor, on the front and on the rear. Okay. Obviously, if this bracket is too close to the rotor, that clip's going to drag the rotor, and you'll see that. Now the other end of the stick is, if the bracket is too far away from the rotor, okay, you could have a huge gap down in this area, okay, and that's not good either, because this boss that this clip is on, and the rear one, is what holds your pad into this bracket, into the whole assembly, okay? So if you get too much here, you're going to be, as the pads wear, and this moves over, you're going to be out on the outer edge of this, okay? So on my bike, I set this clearance right in here for about 30 thousandths, okay? On the specific rotor I had, or I have on it now. So I think that this is just really important right here. We don't want that too narrow, where it's going to hit the rotor. We don't want it too far away, or you're opening yourself up for this pad to come dismounted, perhaps. So anyway, I just want to show you that, and I think that's the most important thing of all these mounts. So might be a good idea to go out and look at your bike if you have an EX500 caliper, and just see what clearance you have here. Okay, well, I went outside and I did some quality time on the welder here, I guess, out in the garage, and I just fixed up these edges, you know, where I was saying in the first part, okay? So, and they're not perfect, and that's okay. The paint will hide all that. It's going to be, you can't really see this thing anyway, but also cleaned up this a little bit, okay? And there again, I'll work with the primer and the paint or whatever, and just try and hide all that stuff a touch more. Now I'm going to have to go back out in the garage. I just noticed this here. I don't know if you can see that or not. If you get a good focus on that, but this bracket, there you go, has evidently chewed that clip off sometime in the past and just ate that piece off, or something's happened here. So I measured these, and the height of these little, you can see that there, okay, and that's in inches. These are about 206 height. Well, that one's not quite 206. So I'm gonna have to go back out and just run a bead across there and shape it again to get it back up to the height where the clip will hang on that pretty well. But other than that, I'm ready to go. I'll do that. Then the next thing I got to do is reassemble the caliper and locate this hole. And I'll put the caliper together, not in a final fashion, but so it's all there. And then I'll get it on the rotor, okay? Then I have to, the mine's behind the fork, but whatever. I will have to tilt this until it hits the top of the rotor. It's going to hit, you know, the caliper, the inside is going to hit the top of the rotor. Then I'll determine that what that clearance is up here and get the same back here. So it'll be coming up a little bit. Then I'll transfer punch this hole. Okay, well, we're out here in the garage, and I got the caliper reassembled and into the bracket. And so now all I gotta do is find this hole. So what I'm gonna do is just bolt this one into snugly, and then transfer punch this with a 25/64 transfer punch. Okay, and that fits really nice. Now what I did is you can take a flashlight and look down on top of your rotor on this side, and you can see the top of the rotor and the pads just, you know, below the surface of the rotor, okay, or into the rotor I should say. And you can also look up from the bottom and I can see the same thing. So I know about where I want this, okay? Now this is hitting, obviously, when you come down, it's hitting on the outer diameter rotor. Now this is a different rotor, but it's exactly the same OD as the stock one, okay? Which is why I used this rotor, okay? Because I knew everything would just fit in. Now when I go this way, what's happening, the foundry here, is the back edge of this bracket, when we just polished up and everything, hitting right in here obviously on the back side. But it just so happens that also the rubber from this guide pin also gets really close to this. So I just kind of came in the middle. I looked down this way to make sure I was good there. I looked up this way to make sure I was good there, and that the pad is covering, you're getting a full bite on the rotor, okay? And then I'm just going to tighten this down and transfer punch. So I know that I want to be right about there, okay? So I'm going to bring that down, give it a snug, look it over, and I'm going to go back just a little bit, only because I can see here that I'm a little closer to the, there we go, because when I tightened it, it rolled it up, I think. Okay, so I'm going to land her right there, okay? So I'm just going to give this a tap, and I should be able to see the little center punch mark on the transfer punch on our little plate. Okay. And we're going to pull that back out. And there's our mark. You probably can't see that, but well, maybe you can. There's a little nit mark right there, a little center punch mark. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to, you know, I got to pull this all apart and center punch that a little bigger, and just drill that, tap that out to our tap size, which I believe is 10 by 1.25, and there we go. We should be good to go. So, and then the paint and everything. So we'll go from there. Well, I'm back, and we got this the bracket all done, I guess. Got her painted nice, couple coats, cured it in the oven, just to kind of speed things along. And now you can see where I kind of didn't get it all, but whatever, looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Also on the back, if you notice, the original bracket has these raised bosses, and I guess what it does just gives the mounting bolts a few more threads, you know, in addition to the thickness of the plate. So what I did was I was using this hole, which doesn't have the boss, and this new hole that I made. So I just added those bosses. All they are is they're just nuts that I machined down and all that stuff, and then I just soldered them on there, okay? And that'll give me a couple extra threads, you know, and kind of make it look nice. So anyway, after this, we're going to go out to the bike, and I'm going to fit this thing and see if I need spacers, and if so, how much. Anyway, there you are. Right here you can see where I made the aluminum spacers. These are 230 thousandths thick. That's just, you know, what I needed to establish the gap, okay? And, you know, Moo's plate is gone, and all I have is the spacers, and the bolts just turned out to be the right length. So anyway, there you go. Right there's the clip. You can see the clip, and of course this is the rotor, and this is that gap I'm talking about. And I'm going to try and zoom out without messing things up too bad. I'm looking from the front of the bike. Okay, there's the headlight and all that. So you need to get in here and check the gap between your clip and your rotor. And here's the final installation, and as you can see, Moo's plate's gone, okay, and all I have is those two spacers now. So anyway, just want to share that.